And John Bird helping us out as well here on this Saturday morning. Memorial Day weekend has a little bit of a different meaning this weekend as well. Thank you to all the veterans. And of course, this is for that weekend where we remember all of those in the military who, well, gave the ultimate sacrifice, gave their life in the service of our country. And we certainly appreciate that. Remember them well. Make sure you take the time at some point in time, especially on Monday, the day that is set aside for Memorial Day, to at least remember them for a little bit. I know that we love to do all the traveling and, talk about the get-togethers and the barbecues and all that kind of stuff. And all that's great. Don't get me wrong. I think it's fantastic that we get to do that. It's the freedom that we have because of their sacrifice that allows us to do it. Good morning, Matt. How are you?
It's been a rough go, but I'm here.
Yeah. Didn't have you last week on the show, dealing with a little bit of a situation that we were talking about with your gallbladder and some of the after effects of it, but you're up on your feet at least, so that's good news.
Yeah, the first day I've been out of the first time I've been out of the house since last Wednesday. And I'm even counting hospital as the house because it felt like I was at the house.
Sure.
I've even lost track of days of which day of the week it is some days, but slowly on the mend. So figured I'd get out of the house, and my wife drove me over here this morning. Appreciate her doing that.
Yeah, because you still haven't been cleared to actually drive, which I imagine is probably driving you a bit nuts.
That's an understatement.
I understand. Well, and things are going to change up a little bit also because of the fact that we lost Kyle Busch. So the only thing that I can think of, Matt and I kind of talked about this, and the more we thought about it, the more we thought, let's just kind of suspend the regular format, if you will. And we're only going to deal with this weekend's slate of racing. I'm not going to review last weekend, mainly because we just want to spend time on it. So let's start with it. Last night, North Carolina Education Lottery, Charlotte Motor Speedway Craftsman Truck Series was supposed to run. They got rained out.
Yep, Mother Nature took stage 1 of that, and apparently she decided to take stage 2 this morning because they were slated to roll off at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central.
Missed.
And Mother Nature is still saying not so fast, my friend.
Yeah.
So they have officially delayed it again until 9 p.m. Eastern tonight.
Ooh, going to be a long day at Charlotte.
Yep.
This morning, things have already gotten started at Maple Grove Raceway in the IHRA Triple Crown, assuming that the weather is working up there. They're supposed to get rolling with Top Fuel and Funny Car, winners claiming $1 million each.
That one has been postponed as well.
Okay. If you are interested in checking it out, you can. You have to go to speedsport.com. Just kind of keep an eye on that. This evening, O'Reilly Auto Parts Series is supposed to get into action. Charlotte Motor Speedway, weather permitting. They're going to run the Charborough 300. Seen on the CW network, heard on PRN radio, starts 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Time. And that'll bring us to what we used to call at least the greatest day in racing. You and I talked about that during the Cross Flags podcast real quick. Not really sure we can still call it that. I mean, no disrespect to the Canadian Grand Prix, but Monaco's got more panache, whatever word you want to use.
Pomp and circumstance. Let's call it that.
Definitely has that. Anyway, it'll start not with Formula One. It'll begin with the Indy 500, airing on Fox and IRN Radio, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Central Time. Again, for those of you that are relatively new to the show, we don't deal with pre-race start times. We only deal with race coverage start times because radio and TV tend to be a little bit different as to when they start their pre-race coverage. So we only deal with the race coverage start. Then, as opposed to Formula One being in Monaco, they're in the Americas. They're actually in the United States' hat for the Canadian Grand Prix at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. 2.7-mile-long, 14-turn course near Montreal, airing on Apple Plus, starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Time. I think this is one of the ones that they're co-opting along with like some movie theaters and some others to allow a little bit more exposure to this.
I think so.
Yeah. And then racing for Memorial Day weekend. Again, weather permitting, it's supposed to wrap up with the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Amazon Prime beginning their 5-race run here with PRN Radio. Coverage starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Time. NHRA, Formula E are both off this weekend. I guess we're going to take this timeline-wise because I think it's the best way to do it. And I say that because a lot of stuff has come out since then. We talked about it a lot on this radio station, our flagship radio station, yesterday and even Thursday afternoon as things were developing with Leland and Dixon and Vining and the line with Andrew and John Bird. I heard you guys, John, talking about it yesterday morning in the first hour of the show. So, you know, again, this is a constantly developing story, and I don't know whether anything had broken really necessarily, John.
Yeah, we when we started talking about it, and of course it developed actually during the show, we got more and more information, and
right.
Folks just started calling in. I think he was the driver you kind of love to hate, but I loved him.
Yeah.
I think he had some Dale Earnhardt in him. It was like, I'm going to win no matter what.
We're going to talk about that here as we go along.
Yeah.
So by all means, feel free to jump in. So Thursday morning, we got kind of a surprising note that Kyle Busch was going to miss this weekend's racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway because he was set to run not only in the Truck Series race, but of course in the Coca-Cola 600. Busch's family released a quick statement. It read only that he experienced a severe illness, and they had taken him to the hospital and put him under doctor's care. Well, later in the day, a second statement came out. It was much more sobering that Kyle Busch had passed away. And they didn't immediately say why. And unfortunately, in a situation like that, speculation runs rampant. And we try not to do a whole lot of speculation. You've been in contact with some people that you know who had some inside word. But again, we wanted to wait really for more confirmation on this. But in the meantime, that brings us to, unfortunately, having to honor the life of Kyle Busch much earlier than what we had hoped.
Way entirely too soon.
Yeah. Born Kyle Thomas Busch, May 2nd, 1985 in Las Vegas, Nevada, into a racing family. His father raced. His older brother, Kurt, was a racer himself. Kurt's rather significantly older than Kyle by what, 7-8 years, if I remember right?
I think so, yeah.
Kyle got really kind of control of the go-kart, the family go-kart at the age of 6. And with his dad's help at the beginning, began to learn how to run it fast around the dead-end street they lived on. And it was kind of funny because you hear different things and different people do interviews. And we've watched a lot of racing movies. The movie Driven is not a great film. Sly Stallone about IndyCar.
Right.
Burt Reynolds is in it as well. But there's an interesting, if somewhat stretching the imagination, scene where Burt Reynolds' character goes around, drops coins on the track, and then goes and tells Sly Stallone's character, go and pick them up with the tires on the car. And you think, how realistic is that? Well, apparently the Busch brothers took that to heart. They would drop bottle caps around the dead end, and they would go around with the go-kart and try to pick up the bottle caps with the tires on the go-kart.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a fear factor, but when you're 6, 7, you don't have that.
Right.
You're just slinging a go-kart around. You're having a great time.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So he learned how to run it real fast around there. He also helped his father working on family cars and race cars in their garage. And at the ripe old age of 10, Kyle was given the role of crew chief on Kurt's dwarf car team that was running at Las Vegas tracks. Began driving himself seriously, moving up from go-karts, in other words. At 13, moved into a Legends car in 1999. From 1999 to 2001, think about that. That's 3 seasons. He wins 65 races at the Bull Ring that's on the grounds of Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We know the 1.5-mile oval track that NASCAR uses. We've talked about the 4-wide dragway that's used by the NHRA, but they got short track there.
Mm-hmm.
65 times in 3 years?
That's stout. That's
Dang.
actually more than stout.
And he added late models to his resume in 2001. In his first year in a late model, won 10 times at the same track, often each night running running the races in both divisions. Well, Roush Racing, who had hired his brother Kurt to run in the upper levels of NASCAR already, had hired Kyle to drive their number 99 Ford F-Series truck in the Craftsman Truck Series midway through that same 2001 season. First race at Chicagoland brought the truck home in 10th. Kid's 16.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get back to that. Led the race when the truck ran out of gas with 12 laps to go later on. He ultimately raced 6 times in the Truck Series before the end of 2001. 2 top 10 results. And it was after 2001 that NASCAR made their first Kyle Busch rule, that to run in the top levels of NASCAR, you had to be at least 18 years old. And I do say that that's Kyle Busch rule number 1. I think you can figure out what the other one was.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get back to it, though. So, without having a NASCAR ride available, he began to run the ASA National Tour, claimed 8th in the standings in 2002. During that time, get this, also graduated from Durango High School in Las Vegas, did so early with honors. Everything that I've ever heard, and I've unfortunately never had the chance to really sit down and talk with Kyle. I've come across him. He's acknowledged me in just going through hallways and such in different places.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's not like, who the heck are you? He actually acknowledged, hi, how are you? Hope you're doing well, that kind of thing. But I never had the chance to sit down and talk with him. But from everybody that I've ever talked to that have known Kyle Busch, said this man was immensely smart, vastly intelligent.
Yes, I've heard the very same thing as well, of him being, like you said, immensely smart, intelligent, insanely mechanically inclined with a race car.
Yeah. His parents, I think, Marty and McGee on the SEC network, and they also do a show on Sirius XM. I was listening to them a little bit on the way in.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, I think it was Marty Reed who said he had asked Kyle Busch's parents at one point in time, if Kyle hadn't been a racer, what would he have done?
Mm-hmm.
His dad immediately popped up and said, oh, he'd been a crew chief.
Oh, yeah, he is. If you listen, times that you listen to him on a radio describing what a race car is doing at one corner or the other, or one area of the track or the other, or whichever lane is whatever, he's detailing that sucker out inch by inch of what the car needs and what it's doing, from lateral grip, no grip, all front grip, forward drive, terms that you hear a lot. He's detailing it out.
Yeah.
And he's trying to tell, he's telling whoever his crew chief is, I need this, or I need that.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So when he finally gets the chance, you think about it, you move up into the ARCA Menard series. They didn't have, and I don't think they still have, they don't have necessarily an age restriction in ARCA. Yeah. Certainly he allowed a 16 to 17-year-old to.
Yeah, they now have an age restriction, but you can be 17 years old and run. You can run Pocono at 17.
Okay. And
you can run. There's another one you can run at 17. But other than that, it's the same basic rule line.
Okay. Anyway, needed to wait until he turned 18, get another chance at NASCAR, and when he did, he was immediately quick, just like he was in that truck that we were talking about just a moment ago. Kind of a bull in a china shop as well. Ticked off veterans with his aggressive style, tended to bump competitors out of the way. Got good rides, though, because of the talent that he had. He ran for the likes of Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing in the Cup Series before landed at Richard Childress Racing. From his first NASCAR races in that 2001 season to earlier this year, Kyle Busch racked up one heck of a resume in the NASCAR ranks alone. More wins at the top 3 levels of NASCAR combined than any other driver. 63 wins in the Cup Series. That's 9th all-time. Tied for 9th all-time with Denny Hamlin. He is the all-time wins leader in what is now the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, claiming 102, and did that in only 367 races. That's practically winning 1 in 3.
Yeah. Yep.
Also holds the all-time wins mark for the Craftsman Truck Series, racking up 69 wins in 184 races. That's ridiculous.
That's even as well an average. I think like 1 in 3.
Yeah,
or even better.
Yeah, and there was a reason why whenever we used to see him, and it was kind of an inside joke with us. Whenever we saw him on the entry list for a Truck Series race, before the race even got the green flag, we penciled him in as the winner. Yep. And more often than not, we just covered over with ink.
Yeah, I agree.
All that makes 234 wins across the top 3 series. That bests the king, Richard Petty. His impressive 200 all came in the Cup Series. Still impressive, don't get me wrong, but 234 wins, you can't sneeze at that. Mm-hmm. Think about some of the other things he did, too. Claimed the 2009 Nationwide, now O'Reilly Auto Parts Series championship. Backed that up with his first Cup title in 2015. Did it again in 2019. Other noted accomplishments in 2018, claimed wins at every single track on the Cup Series circuit. Obviously, it changed when they started to move races around. But yeah, at that point in time, he had wins at every single track that NASCAR raced on in the Cup Series. He also swept twice the races at a track, winning the Truck, O'Reilly, and Cup Series races all in one weekend. Again, he did that twice. Had a streak of 19 years where he won at least one race in the Cup Series. It was snapped in 2024 when he could not get a ride into victory lane after the 2023 season. 2004 Busch Series, yeah, remember that? Busch Series Rookie of the Year. 2005 Cup Series Rookie of the Year. Named Best Driver in ESPN's Best Driver category, the ESPY Awards twice, 2016 and 2019. And, of course, was named, naturally, as one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers when that list was announced back in 2023. And that's not all. We need to take a break. Let's go ahead and roll that, John Bird. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the things off the track. And these, in some cases, are things that are close to your heart.
They are.
Matt Nicholson.
They are.
So we'll talk about that, and then we'll open it up. Matt and I will talk about our memories a little bit, what we have experienced in and around being in and around Kyle Busch. John Bird can certainly check in on that. You can as well, be at CRN Live on YouTube or calling in or texting in.
Easy pricing from the comfort of your home. And with up to 6 financing options available, we have solutions for any budget. Visit htroofers.com today. That's htroofers.com.
Four tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back into the show. Steve West, Matt Nicholson, John Myers on CRN Live on YouTube, taking care of all the visuals. John Bird here at the flagship radio station, taking care of all the audio. We appreciate both of them very, very much. We appreciate you as well. Phone lines are open, 205-545-9950. You can call, you can text. John Bird will be monitoring those texts as well. Of course, you can comment on CRN Live on YouTube as well about your memories related to Kyle Busch, who passed away Thursday. Before we go any further on that, though, do want to thank some of our great people who help us get the show going on. Segments of the show being brought to you by the folks at Cat and Bird Winery. Open today. They're not expecting it necessarily to be all that terrifically busy, truth be told, because it is. Let's face it, Memorial Day weekend. A lot of people going to be on the road. So if you happen to be in town, you're looking for something to do, Solaria Brewing, Cat and Bird Winery and Solaria Brewing Company, we'll talk about them next hour, could be just what you were looking for. Kind of a nice little getaway. Can be inside underneath the pavilion. They're going to have music playing. They do have a bar exercise program going on this morning at, I think, 11 o'clock. I don't even know what that is. I'm almost afraid to ask.
Yeah, bar exercise.
Yeah. But if you're interested in something like that, you can do it and then join them for the rest of the day. And coming up not that long from now, I keep trying to get John Bird to come. First Thursday of every month, the Cat and Bird Winery music trivia hosted by me. Come on down. Check it out. We thank Matt Lyons and all the crew out there at Cat and Bird Winery. They're located at 11661 Old Highway 280 in Chelsea. Great to have them on as a great partner of ours here at the Championship Racing Network.
Sure.
Let's talk about this because, again, there's a whole lot more to Kyle Busch than just getting into a car and going fast, which obviously he could do. He married Samantha in 2010. The couple had a hard time having children. Ultimately, though, with medical help, they had two. A boy, Brexton, who's turning out to be a promising racer in his own accord. There's more to that story in a minute. And a young girl, Lennox, who has apparently done a little bit of racing herself. Not really sure what it is that she's going to get into. Couple's been big into charity work. Kyle Busch Foundation, Kyle's Miles, which was done in conjunction with Pedigree to support dogs and rescue organizations and more. And they also started a foundation that you and your wife, you've talked about this.
Yeah, yeah. The because of their struggles that they've had with being able to have a family, they got their very popular. It's their what I call the very popular charitable organization, the Bundle of Joy Fund, that helps mainly within in the Carolinas, that helps out families that struggle with funding to be able to have IVF done because IVF is so expensive, and they grant families funds to be able to help have children through IVF processes. And last I checked and last I recall, there's been 20 or 30 plus. I can't remember the exact number, but there's been 20 or 30 plus children born from funding out of that program, a charitable organization to be able to help families have children.
And didn't you say at some point in time Samantha had reached out to you and or your wife?
My wife, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
My wife had a conversation with Samantha online one time, and then I think it was about a week later, maybe, she had a signed copy of Samantha's book.
Nice.
Which was really cool.
Very cool. Kyle's had several nicknames along the way, some we can't put on the air. Among them, Shrub, younger brother of Kyle Busch. Candyman, of course, due to his long-running sponsorship in his car with the Mars M&M's Candy Company. But most people called him Rowdy because, well, he drove much like the character Rowdy Burns from the film Days of Thunder. Again, Thursday morning, he was rushed to a North Carolina hospital. Reports of a sudden and serious illness, which forced him to withdraw from this weekend's races at Charlotte, where he'd been scheduled to run last night's Truck Series race, which ended up getting postponed anyway, and Sunday's longest race of the year, the Coca-Cola 600. But then word came out Thursday afternoon he passed away due to an as yet undisclosed illness. Kyle Busch was only 41 years old. And over the course of the time through the day yesterday, and even to a certain extent this morning, we found out that, for example, he got on the radio towards the end of the race at Watkins Glen, asked his crew to have, I think, the NASCAR traveling doctor?
Yes.
Meet him because he needed a shot. And word came out after that that he had been suffering from a bit of a sinus issue. So one would think probably a steroid because, you know, if you get an infection, something like that, you get a steroid shot. It helps you get over that infection.
Steroid, antibiotic, could have been one of them too.
Right. Then he goes around, and we talked about how many races he's won in the Truck Series. Then he turns around, goes from Watkins Glen, enters the Truck Series race at Dover, wins the race in the Truck Series at Dover, his last, unfortunately, race that he would ever win. Didn't seem to have any issues. Even got out of the truck, and in the post-race interview with Fox Sports right after the race, said something that is now oddly prophetic. Enjoy every win you got because you never know when it'll be your last.
That is arguably it is arguably one of the most chilling statements from any driver of any discipline of motorsports that I've ever heard repeated.
Yeah. So he does that, goes back, runs the Sunday race, the All-Star race at Dover, does pretty well, all things being equal. It was beginning to really look like this move to put Andy Street back on the crew chief role for that 8 car was really starting to pay dividends.
It's climbing, yes. Because when they moved Street back over there, I wasn't expecting it to be perfect right off the bat, but to see a steady incline of performance, and you were seeing that. Now, a little bit of pit strategy in the last 200 lap segment kind of didn't go their way, but it was showing dividends and starting to pay off.
Right.
Okay. But the part for me is Kyle and I are the same age.
Yeah.
That's the part and like I've really needed another one since last Thursday. That's the part that's a gut punch.
Sure. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody. My wife would be more than happy to tell you, and she's working at Cat and Bird Winery today. Go find Karen. She'll tell you. I can be a stubborn fool all too often. And I was a stubborn fool about going to see a doctor. And I have said this story before, but I'm going to say it again just to kind of maybe wake somebody up. I didn't have a general practice doctor when we first moved from Alabaster into our land over near Chelsea. It's technically not Chelsea, but it's got a Chelsea address. It's county. And I got to thinking a couple of months after we moved in, I probably ought to get a doctor. I'm 50 years old.
Right.
I probably ought to start looking into that and saying, just get a physical.
Right.
And the funny thing was I asked my dentist. I said, just out of curiosity, you guys have a general practice doctor? And he said, yeah, I do. And he told me the name of who he used. And I asked a couple of other people in the office. Everybody in my same dental office said the same exact doctor. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So I wrote down all of her information, stuck it up on the refrigerator, never called. And that was wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
That was December, maybe January. We get the first time when we got to mow the yard that year in the springtime as everything greens up. And I thought, well, I'll get some exercise. Instead of doing the riding mower, I'll get the push mower out. And I'm doing the backyard. The backyard is about 60 feet deep and 90 feet long. Not an insignificant size, but, not the largest yard on the planet. I got about 3 laps in a push mower, and I'm feeling pain in my chest and running down my left arm. Well, I've heard all the clues about what that means.
Yeah. Yep.
So I immediately stop the mower, and I start just kind of seeing if everything's going to ease down. And it did. And I'm like, okay, that was weird. I thought, well, let me see something. So I start the mower back up. I didn't even get half a lap. All that pain was back. So I shut the mower off, put it away, called, made an appointment. I met with the doctors. First of all, her assistant, Dr. Elizabeth. She did all the process, weighing, blood pressure, blah, blah, blah. She took a look at the blood pressure. She looked at me and said, you on blood pressure medication? I said, nope. She never told me the number. She just said, you're about to be. Red flag number 1. From that doctor's appointment, it was 1 month later, I was downtown at St. Vincent's Hospital undergoing a triple bypass. 1 month. You think about if I had continued to be that stubborn, my wife could have found me potentially out in the yard, flat on my face, dead because of a heart attack. And that's what I'm going to paint a broad brush here, but I'm going to say it anyway. That's what guys tend to do. We don't really want to go see a doctor.
Yep. I mean, I'll kind of piggyback off of that. So like my issues I had last year, went to a general. It was in March. Went to just a general checkup, 6-month checkup, and was just doing the physical checks. And primary care doctor said, "We need to get you in. Let's look at your thyroid looked at." Okay, what's the matter? It's just let's get it looked at. It feels abnormally large, like it's a goiter.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, well, they sent me in to do do a standard ultrasound, standard procedure, just looking at everything. And I went, and I think it was about 45-minute process. They scanned everything, checked. A couple of days later, called back and said, outside of a few nodules, which I've always heard of thyroid nodules, outside of a few nodules and everything looks all right. It's just abnormally large. We're going to refer you to another doctor, get a second look at it, and look at trying to get that thing out because it is way, way, way too big. But when you go back and look at old photos, as one especially from mine and my wife's wedding photo, I always thought I had just a shorter statured, larger neck. Because you see it commonly around a lot of guys, even some, no disrespect, but some females, they have the shorter necks, and you think their neck is large. Well, same thing. Had a CT scan as well as an ultrasound done. Same thing was said. Everything nothing appears to be abnormal, just a really large thyroid, but it needs to come out, because if it goes any longer, you're going to start having some problems. Okay. Well, the doctor, the surgeon that I went to first, she was beyond cordial. She said, "I could do the surgery, but we need to do it this needs to be done in Birmingham because of the size of everything." She said, "It is very, very large." She said, "So I'm going to refer you to a surgeon in Birmingham because they would have better equipment and a steadier hand than I've got." I said, "I respect that and I appreciate that."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was over within that doctor within 2 weeks, and he got the CT scans and looked at everything. And I'll call his name out on the air, Dr. Justin Malik. He's phenomenal. He's great. He looked at everything. He said, "Yeah," he said, looking at everything, he said, "It's no secret. It's got to go."
Yeah.
He said, because it's getting to that point where if it goes too much longer, you're going to start getting it pressing into your trachea and your esophagus, and you're going to have breathing problems and swallowing problems. Okay. When do we get it out? Well, I was set to go on an international trip the following week. He was going to want to do it the following week. I said, well, kind of would be hard for me to fly from Nassau up to Birmingham, have surgery, then go back. He said, "Yeah, let's don't do that. Let's just wait till you get back. It'll be okay." So I used the old saying. I got off the airplane and went straight to the OR. Had this surgery July 7th, spent a day in the hospital, got back out. He said, "When I get pathology back, I'll call you. Or we'll call you." July 24th, I was sitting beside my mother when he called. Then he said, "Don't want to." He said, "I'm calling you personally. Don't want to scare you. Don't want to alarm you or anything, but the thyroid had cancer, the aggressive version." I went, "What? How? How do you miss that after 3 scans?" I said, "Well, I'm grateful that it was found." He said, "You're lucky because the tumor was encapsulated and nothing was spread." He said, "But you were on a borderline."
Yeah. Those are just the 2 stories of us.
Yeah.
And you wonder what was going on in the world of Kyle Busch. because we found out that he, on Wednesday, went to the simulator, Chevrolet simulator, and passed out, was unresponsive.
After getting out of the simulator.
And then unconfirmed reports, I say unconfirmed because I haven't heard it from sources that I can generally rely on. But we have heard reports that Thursday morning, what caused him to end up going into the hospital, caused his family to take him, was that he was coughing up blood.
There was the 911 tapes that have been, the audio that has been released, the call said that he was coughing. He gotten disoriented. He was overheating, short of breath, and was coughing up blood at the actual GM test facility. Yeah. In the bathroom floor, and somebody found him, but he was alive at the time. So, and then they got him transported the next morning because I guess he came to a little bit or whatever. And then the rest is history.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate that we don't know the whole story. The family is asking for privacy. We're certainly going to give it. We're not going to pry. We're also not going to get into the mode of speculation because we could speculate all day long. What we're going to do now is take the time to remember. And Mr. Plow on CRN Live on YouTube had a great comment. We'll tell you about that when we come back. And I've got a memory here that, truth be told, from any number of reasons, but now, especially in the wake of Kyle Busch's death, I'm never going to forget. That's next, right here on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
And taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon?
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
2 tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Real quick, as we come back, big thank you to John Myers on CRN Live on YouTube. He has done a fantastic job in a very short period of time in getting so many pictures of Kyle Busch through the years and just keeping him running, because I think that that's very appropriate on this weekend.
For sure.
As far as what was supposed to happen last night or what is supposed to happen this weekend, real quick, when it was announced that he wasn't going to be able to be a part of it, they found a replacement driver for him in the Truck Series. They're going to put Corey Day, who runs for Hendrick in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. They're going to put him in the number 7 truck last night. You noticed a couple of interesting things about that 7 truck, so something to watch for when that race finally does get going.
Yeah, top-notch move by Spire, if you ask me. And I think this move right here wins a lot of people over. Wins a lot of people over with Spire. It'll win them over. They put the old KBM logo on the truck because those Spire trucks are former KBM trucks.
They are.
So the KBM logo is on the deck lid, as well as it's on the front nose of the truck in the lower left-hand corner, right below where the number would be on the lights. That was an extremely cool move. And then with the Cup side, with them, and this was honestly expected.
Yeah.
And it makes perfect sense, if you ask me.
Especially if you go back to what happened in 2001.
Yep.
This makes a lot of sense.
Almost an identical scenario in 2001. Renumbering and rebranding and renumbering the car and taking his number off of the car and, let's just call it, setting it on the shelf.
Right.
Which makes sense. They're going to renumber the 8 renumber the 8 to the number 33. So if you're looking and you see on entry list, if you see the number 133, it's because the actual number 33 already this year has earned points, so they can't transfer those points from one to the other. So this is basically renumbering the 8 to the 33, but you got to put 133 on the entry list for it to signify correctly, and Austin Hill taking over the car for this weekend. Two things I recognize versus what Spire did versus what RCR's done so far. Spire, bravo move of leaving that truck untouched.
Yeah.
Leaving his name over the back window.
Not even taking his name off of it.
Leaving his name on the door.
Yeah.
Bravo move.
Yeah, I agree.
RCR didn't have any names on the windows or the door. That doesn't mean they won't add it in. I'm not saying that they won't, because the weekend is still very, very early. But at least for this race, I would have left the name over the door.
And they might still.
Well, when they unloaded the car this morning, and there's videos on social media of them unloading the car, and you could have heard a proverbial fly by your head. It was so quiet and so solemn.
Yeah.
There was nothing on the car when they unloaded.
Yeah. The ultimate respect in the fact that they allowed the RCR team to unload first and do everything that they needed to do to get everything set up before everybody else did, because they usually do that by points.
Yeah, it was.
But they put RCR to the front of the line.
RCR at the front of the line, very ceremonial, and that was top notch and very classy move. But two people that I don't envy this weekend is Corey Day and Austin Hill.
Yeah, and
I don't envy them a bit.
Well, it's the same situation for Kevin Harvick.
Oh, it's identical.
You think about what Kevin Harvick had to do. I mean, he was already in a situation where he was kind of the next in line at RCR, but he ended up being forced to the front of the line because of what happened to Dale Earnhardt at the Daytona 500 in 2001.
Yeah.
And he was able to shoulder that. Austin Hill and Jesse Love, because you and I have kind of talked about this. We think that this is maybe the tryout. You and I have kind of wondered, how long are they going to be able to keep Austin Hill and or Jesse Love happy running in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series before something happens up at the Cup Series level? And there were people that wondered whether or not they were going to try and add a third car. Well, adding a third car is not really that much of an option for RCR. There's a couple of other teams that are already ahead of them in line.
Right.
ready to go get them, and there's just not that many for sale.
Right.
So something was going to have to happen at the Cup Series level. This was not expected. Truth, and of all the things that we honestly expected to happen, Austin Dillon would have taken himself out of the car first and kicked himself upstairs within the RCR ranks. And that would have opened up a car for either Austin Hill or Jesse Love.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in time, it is kind of, I hate to say battle, but this is tryout time for Austin and Jesse.
It is, and I'm not gonna reveal names. Not gonna reveal who told me this either. I want to see if it plays itself out. But with what I have been told, could possibly be in the works of playing out is at some point this year, possibly, there could be a name that drives that car for a race. And if that name drives this car for a race, whichever track that plays out at, the stands may come to the ground.
Could be interesting.
Very.
As far as the number 8 is concerned, and we've got a phone call here, we're going to get to it here in a moment, Mark, so hang on for me. As far as that number 8 is concerned, Richard Childress has basically said, I'm going to put it on a shelf. I'll break it back out when Kyle's son Brexton is ready to go racing in the Cup Series, and it's his number, whether it's at RCR or at another team. But I would be shocked if Richard Childress Racing doesn't do their level best to get Brexton within their fold. I'd be shocked.
I would be completely surprised, too, if they didn't.
Mr. Plow said something pretty interesting on CRN Live on YouTube. He said the fact that Kyle Busch basically won the pole for the truck race posthumously is the most Kyle Busch thing he could leave us with. That number 7 truck will lead that field to green whenever they do get that Truck Series race in Charlotte in.
That is a extremely valid point.
Yeah, I agree. Late model Mark from Talladega Short Track, talking Kyle Busch. How are you, man?
I'm good. A little hurt, but good. In all my years of racing since '64 and whatever discipline, we'll talk about NASCAR today in this discipline, there was always my guy. Mm-hmm. It came with Cale Yarborough first, and then it transitioned to Dale Earnhardt Sr., and he's still pretty much my guy. And then Dale Jarrett was my guy for a while, but after I saw Kurt and Kyle Busch, my late wife and I, we used to go to Las Vegas a lot, and we watched them in the early days racing late models along with Cole Trickle. Remember that guy?
Ah, yeah.
And I saw something there. So ever since Kyle got on late models in NASCAR, he was my guy because I just had that feeling he was just an excellent driver. He could do things a lot of people couldn't do, and it didn't matter if it was dirt or pavement. The guy was just solid.
Yeah.
Just solid. And, I was pretty shocked and hurt just like everybody. And, Steve and Matt, I'm really not concerned of the cause of his death. I know everybody has curiosity. We all just know that he's gone. And it's a tough one, It's just I know my eyes got a little bit misty when a lot misty when I heard the news, and I really think he was a one of a kind, and like I said, he was my guy.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. 100%. Well said, Mark.
No doubt.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. You guys have a good show and keep up the good work. Bye-bye.
Thank you much. I would imagine all kinds of honors. We saw, Fox, obviously, they've got the IndyCar coverage, but they're talking a lot about Kyle Busch. So I imagine Indianapolis will do it because he's a 2-time winner of the Brickyard 400. And everything going on at Charlotte this weekend is going to be
yesterday,
Kyle Busch related.
Yeah, yesterday on the opener to the final practice on Fast Friday, Will Buxton nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely nailed the tribute, talking about everything. And it's Saturday morning. I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna go out on the edge of the limb here, and I'm gonna say this right here. This weekend on the Truck Series broadcast with Eric Brennan as the lead instead of Jamie Little on there, that entire opening part of that broadcast was tenfold better with his, and I'll just use the word, his monologue of going through everything, talking about everything that happened, describing everything, the command that he took and how professional he did it eclipsed every single broadcast this year so far that Jamie Little has done.
Gotcha.
Eric took control of it, and I'm sorry, but if that didn't earn Eric a full-time spot right there alone, I don't know what Fox is doing.
Yeah, I gotcha. Let me check with John Burt here. How much time do we have, sir? Okay. Not enough time. So when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. There's other news. If we get to it, we get to it. If we don't, we don't. That's fine. But I've got a memory, and Matt was right beside me, that is very much tied in with Kyle Busch. Very much tied in with Kyle Busch. So we'll get to that as we get to hour number 2. That'll begin right after we take this break, right here on CRN. Thank you very much for joining us on this Memorial Day weekend.
Those meds without any stress. That one little app does all the rest. Even my horse downloaded it. Dang, save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance.
Fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Thank you very much for joining us once again. Appreciate it on this Memorial Day weekend where we have a lot to remember here, and definitely in relation to the overall arching format of this show, the remembrance of Kyle Busch. We've been talking about him for the first hour. We'll continue to talk about him here in a moment. Portions of the show brought to you by Siluria Brewing Company. I was out there last night, as a matter of fact. I host trivia out there too. Yes, I host music trivia at Cat and Bird Winery and Siluria Brewing Company. Each and every Friday night, 7 to 9 p.m., we're out there hosting that, and there's all kinds of things going on. But right now, they got a really cool deal going on with America's 250th anniversary coming up. They're selling a T-shirt out there for $25, and they're taking pre-orders for it right now. And a week from tomorrow, they'll get the shirts in, and they'll start to distribute them out. And it's got a great, cool design on the back of it, celebrating the 250th anniversary of the country, and, of course, the men and women who, over the course of time, have allowed us to continue on as the United States of America. Again, it's $25 for the shirt. $5 from every shirt goes to the local VFW. Very cool thing. Slurry Brewing Company, 145 First Avenue West in Alabaster. Go down and check them out. Sure they would appreciate it. Had a great crowd last night. 15 teams played last night. Thanks to all of them. It was real fun.
Nice.
All right. So the resume that Matt and I have, Matt is the resident driver. He's raced at short tracks all around the southeastern part of the country. So we've talked about that before. But we've also talked about the fact that I have been blessed enough since 2007 to be the Tower PA announcer at Talladega Superspeedway. Well, 8 years ago now, as it turns out, the main contact that we had, because kind of pull back the curtain, if you will, if you've never been to Talladega or you're not sure exactly what all goes on, we have a fairly close relationship, in our case, with the Motor Racing Network.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yes, we do a lot of pre-race activity, bouncing back and forth between myself and Nathan up in the tower and Matt Coulter, who's down trackside, and all of that bouncing back and forth. But once we get into the race, over the PA system, if you can hear it over the cars, you'll hear the Motor Racing Network, except when they go to commercial. When they go to commercial, their feed goes away, and it's me, and it's Nathan in this case that's picking it up. Well, Nathan is relatively new to this process. If you go back to about 2018, there was no Nathan. It was me and generally one other person. Matt, you've been one of those guys that has been beside me at that point in time. And Motor Racing Network put a wonderful lady by the name of Stacy Fine in with us, and she started to really pay attention to what it was that we were doing and what it was that we needed. And the more she worked with us, the easier things got, and we started to get to the point where we were timing things out to make sure that there was really very little to no dead air or pure silence over the PA. We were doing our level best to do that. And she recognized it, and she appreciated it. And she said, I need to maybe try and get you to some other tracks. And again, this was early in 2018. Well, funny thing is that Russell Branham, who is now at Darlington Raceway, he was one of the big wigs at Talladega Superspeedway at the time. And Darlington needed some help for the Labor Day weekend Southern 500. And he called me up and said, would you be willing to go to Darlington? I said, yes.
where that actually stemmed from in 2018 is at the time my wife and I just had lost our son, and we had talked about was just going to take guys weekend and girls weekend, because we went somewhere already. So she was talking about going to the beach with her mom and stepmom and some other people. And I got a hold of him. I said, why don't we go to the Southern 500?
Mm-hmm.
He said, let me call Russell. We'll get passes. Called, got the passes.
And a couple of days later, Russell said, how would you like to work it?
You boys want to work?
Yeah.
Sure.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. Let's go.
Yeah, we've talked about it. We walked onto the grounds at Darlington. It felt like history slapped us in the face. It's a fantastic thing.
Yep.
If you ever get the chance to go to Darlington, if you've never done it, do it. Well, 2019 comes along. We're confirmed we're going to go back to Darlington. Great. Love it. And then Stacy said, we're going to need somebody at Richmond. Can you go? And I've always loved Richmond Raceway. Something about the racing up there, I've always loved it. So I said, sure, let's do it.
Yeah, this was like, 3 weeks later?
Yeah.
3 weeks later?
Exactly. So, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, good. Go up and one off. I didn't figure it was going to happen again because I knew the guy, Dan Lockamy, who was generally, and it wasn't just Dan, but Dan was one of the ones that would generally drive up, and he'd go up and help out at Richmond on most weekends, but he just wasn't able to do it that one. So we got to fill in.
Yeah, let's enjoy yourself.
And so we get back, and then comes Talladega Fall race, and Stacy goes, I need to get you at Homestead, Miami. And I'm like,
we're automatically thinking,
okay, cool. That
2020.
might happen 2020, 2021. Of course, we didn't realize COVID was going to happen.
Nope, get on the plane in 3 weeks.
3 days after we got done at Talladega, Stacy calls me up. Hey, you want to go to Homestead this year? Yeah, I'll do that. Still got the shirt. I can't fit in the shirt. I'm grown older and fatter and much more out of shape. But I couldn't bring myself to get rid of that shirt.
I still got all mine.
And I can't, I can't bring myself to get rid of the Darlington shirts either. There's just a memory that's involved there. But now this has more of a memory. Because if you think about the 2019 championship weekend at Homestead, Miami, that was the second of Kyle Busch's Cup Series titles. Mm-hmm. And there are two things that I remember very well. And Matt has this story much better than I do. But we were doing what we normally did. And apparently there was another MRN person sitting in the booth, and they just went, wow, you know that better than me.
The president of MRN was sitting in there.
Okay.
At the time.
Thank you.
I think it was Chris Schwartz was sitting in there. Because, thank you, COVID, and thank you, Tim Catalfamo.
Yeah.
Little known story. That guy and I were in line, and were at the time were firmly in line to be the national traveling team in 2020.
Yeah, it goes to the point where remember 2019 was the last year that Homestead Miami until this year was supposed to host the championship weekend. They were going to move to the spring race in 2020. The president of the track called me up. President of Homestead Miami called me up and said, hey, you want to come back? I'm there.
It was Neil, yep.
I'm there. So he got me everything that he had done before. He was going to get me the plane ride down. He was going to get me the rental car in the hotel room. He was going to set me up. And then COVID happened. And then for some reason, somebody at NASCAR decided to go a different direction.
Yeah, because we were literally headed to getting ready to head to the airport the next day.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was that tight. So MRN got impressed with how we did things and apparently felt that they could do it better. Hate to tell you, you didn't. But on top of that was the night that Kyle Busch won the title. We're up in the booth. There is a trackside announcer, a name which, if you are in racing or know racing and know the announcers fairly well, you've probably heard the guy, or at least heard of him.
Yep.
So he's down there. He's getting ready to do all the post-race stuff down trackside. Well, it's my job to fill in. Until then, Kyle Busch took his own sweet time on this particular evening. He gets done celebrating trackside, grabs Brexton, puts him in the car, and they did this slow Alan Kulwicki Polish victory lap around the track, which I'm not blaming him a bit. I think it's a fantastic move. It showed exactly how much Kyle Busch had turned into a family man.
Oh, yeah, because everybody was looking at the car, and then they turned around and they showed a camera shot, and I tapped him on the shoulder. I said, he just put Brexton in the car.
Yeah. It showed just how much he had turned from that bull into a china shop that we were talking about last hour when he was in his younger years, to the point where Jeff Gordon basically looked at him as a teammate at Hendrick Motorsports, said, what the heck are you doing? You're going to take out half the field. And Tony Stewart putting his arm around Kyle Busch and saying, hey, listen, I get it. You're aggressive. That's good. But there's a way to be aggressive without taking everybody out. And over the course of time, Kyle Busch takes all of the advice that he gets from the Gordons, the Stewarts, the Jimmy Johnsons, and all those guys who are already established within the Cup Series. And he uses all that. And then he gets married, finally gets a family, and all of a sudden you start to see changes within Kyle Busch.
It'll do that.
And that in-car camera. We're watching the in-car camera feed as I'm filling in. And I mean, I'm coming up with stuff like this is the 5th Cup Series championship for Joe Gibbs Racing. And I'm literally spouting year and driver. 2000, Bobby Labonte. 2002, Tony Stewart. 2005, Tony Stewart. 2015, Kyle Busch. And now 2019, Kyle Busch. I'm coming up with stats, and he's helping me come up with stuff that I can use to fill in.
Yeah.
For this seemingly forever time of him spending time in that car, relishing his second Cup Series championship with his son, Brexton, in that car.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never get rid of that shirt. Because I don't care if I never fit in it again. Doesn't matter. I'm not getting rid of that shirt because now that shirt and that memory that I just told you have that much more importance to me.
Yep.
But then there's other things. And I was there, the race at Talladega. I was in a fan in the stands. The race at Talladega after Dale Earnhardt died.
Mm-hmm.
I remember everybody standing up. I did it too, standing up, putting the number 3 in the air on the third lap.
Yeah.
Thought it was a cool move then, still think it's a cool move. And it's that kind of respect that racers and race fans have for each other that cause us to do these kind of things and have these memories, right? And then later on, I get to do tower announcing up there, and it was always a fun thing because above and beyond anything else, Talladega is an Earnhardt track. Well, guess what? There's not really an Earnhardt now. But they remember him running for Richard Childress Racing. And if Kyle Busch, or truth be told, to a certain lesser extent, Austin Dillon worked his way up towards the front, the people at Talladega sit up and take notice.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the team that Dale Earnhardt ran for.
Yeah. Yep.
But when Dale Earnhardt was there, he could start at the back of the field. And once everything kind of got settled down after about lap 3 or 4 and everybody is taking their seats finally, now all of a sudden you start to see Dale Earnhardt Jr. working his way up through the crowd.
Slowly but
because
surely.
he was never that guy that said, you know what, I'm just going to sit back at the back and wait for the end of the stage, and then I'll start to work my way to the front and see what kind of car I got.
Right.
He was never that kind of guy. He was always the man on the move.
Mm-hmm.
And Dale Earnhardt would work his way up through. And if Dale Earnhardt got to the top 10, those people that were doing this suddenly did this. Sat up. They went from relaxed in their seats to suddenly they're up and they're close and they're paying attention. And then he gets them to the top 5, and now they're on the edge of their seat. And then he takes the lead, and everybody's standing up.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have heard over the course of years, pre-race introductions, and you'll get a driver that's a popular driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and as soon as his name is announced, everybody screams and yells and goes, yay. But if he's wearing the black hat, Kyle Busch, roundly booed.
Tear the stands down.
Denny Hamlin knows that. Tony Stewart knew it at Talladega one time when he actually made a statement that was, shall we say, ill-advised about the fandom at Talladega.
Yeah. And
he owned it. He wore a T-shirt the very next time said obnoxious Talladega driver. He called the race fans at Talladega obnoxious from time to time. He said, I'm an obnoxious Talladega driver. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Over the course of time, though, some of these drivers, you would hear the change. Tony Stewart quickly went from being booed roundly to being cheered. We saw that with Kyle Busch. Over the course of time, as he became an elder statesman and started winning races and not doing it in a bull in a china shop fashion, those boos started to be intermixed with cheers. And suddenly the cheers outdid the boos. And to the point where the last couple of years, I don't remember hearing boos for Kyle Busch when he got announced. Not really.
If there were any, it was very, very few.
Very few.
Because when he left Gibbs and went to back to Chevrolet and RCR, it was like they turned around and amplified, like you said.
Yeah.
But you know, it was crazy how all that changed.
It is. And it's amazing over the course of time how those kind of things stick in your head.
Yep.
You know, again, you could just sit and watch, and you watch, literally, I would. I would find out where Dale Earnhardt Jr. was at the start of the race and go, okay, let's watch the fans. And I would sit them and I'd watch how they were relaxed, and suddenly they got a little bit more intensely interested in what was going on the track.
Right.
They get up on the edge of their seat, and suddenly they were up and cheering. And when you're talking about 100,000 fans in the stands and you're literally right over them, you can't help but hear their reaction whenever a driver is announced.
Or you can't help but help but feel the stand shake.
That's true too. If they really, really love a driver, whoa, man.
Yeah.
That place will shake.
Yes, it will.
It will.
Yes,
and
it will.
It's fun. It is a lot of fun.
That with it, I personally feel like that he will, and he will continue and keep going. But the day when Brexton Busch makes his first National Series start,
it's going to be a popular day.
That's going to be a popular day, and I've seen some comparisons people are trying to make, and these comparisons are very legitimate, and I could see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
Fans of Kyle's and other fans are going to rally behind the kid.
I agree.
And it's going to be to the level or possibly, and I use that word very largely, eclipse the level of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Well, maybe. I could see that. But the support system is going to be there.
Support system is going to be there.
Yeah. The support system is all over. If this is what he wants to do, and I honestly believe that it is, that support system will be there for him all the way up through.
It's going to be there.
Yeah.
Because if there are two, and the old saying, if there are two young shoes right now that have their eyes squarely on them, that are going to be what I would call be the next torch bearers of motorsports and stock cars, is Brexton Busch and Keelan Harvick.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not too far away. And noting that, you think about it. All right, NASCAR announced the 2027 Hall of Fame class. It is Kevin Harvick. Flat out, no doubt. Fully deserved. In fact, I've got the stats number. Hang on, let me go back to this. There we go. You think about it. 2014 Cup Series title, 60 Cup Series wins, 2 titles in what's now the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, 2001, 2006, 47 wins in what's the now Craftsman Truck Series, another 14 wins in that. He was named on 46 of the 50 ballots.
Very fair.
How in the heck has nobody gotten a perfect? Not even Richard Petty got named on all 50 ballots. It's kind of it's that weird Major League Baseball thing where nobody seems to be willing to name him on 100% of the ballots. I don't understand that.
Now there are quite a few media members, quite a few that are on the voting panel and the discussion panel. They will post their ballot for transparency.
Yeah,
and I respect them for that.
Sure, I would if I did.
But it should be, quite honestly, it should be a prerequisite, if that's what you want to call it. When the votes are done and the class is announced, just like NCAA football coaches have to release their final coaches poll, you have to release your voting poll.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Going in with Harvick, it gets a little muddier after that because not any other driver got 50% of the vote on the modern ballot. But
muddy?
Yeah.
I don't think muddy describes it.
By all means, use your own word. But anyway, no other driver got more than 50% of the ballot. Jeff Burton got 32%. He tops Neil Bonnet, Randy Dorton, and Greg Biffle. He's named in. His career stats, 21 Cup Series wins, 27 wins in what's the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Okay. I don't think that that's a resume that's better than Greg Biffle, but apparently there were some people that said we don't want it to look like we're voting in Greg Biffle on a sympathy vote. Dude, his resume means that you're not voting him in on a sympathy vote.
Because when they announced the Pioneer, Larry Phillips, boom, I nailed that one.
Yeah,
Larry Phillips,
and you're right.
Beyond guys, the resume and the qualifications to be listed as a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, Kevin Harvick, check.
Yeah,
got that right.
Knew he was going in.
Jeff Burton
over Greg Biffle, and he's just one of the ones who I could honestly probably make a sincere case for over Jeff Burton.
I can make a case for Randy Dorton over Jeff Burton. But they talk about having sympathy vote for Greg Biffle. This is more of it's not taking away from race wins that Jeff Burton had on the racetrack.
I mean, is he deserving of the nomination? Yes. Was he deserving of getting in over Greg Biffle? In my mind, no.
Absolutely not.
All right. But you mentioned Larry Phillips.
Larry Phillips, Kevin Harvick. But Jeff, it's not taking away from his race wins. But he's been on the ballot so long, this appeared to be more of a pity vote.
Yeah, in some ways.
Well, because of his contributions outside of the sport. Anybody that ever has put on a helmet and sat behind a 5-point harness has contributed to the sport in some shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah.
So, all right, I see we're up against time. I'm going to have to carry this on later.
Yeah. But Larry Phillips gets in by claiming votes on 38% of the Pioneer ballots. Made his name in NASCAR's lower ranks. So if he's not a name that's overly familiar to you, you can kind of understand it. Remember the old Winston West series? Well, if you don't, look it up. Claimed 5 Winston West Series racing titles from 1989 through 1996. Was named one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers a couple of years ago when that list came out. Passed away due to cancer in 2004 at 62.
Modern day Arca.
His longtime crew chief, James Ince, believes that Phillips, over his career, may have won well over 1,000 races in his career, and actually says that number might be closer to 2,000.
I don't doubt it.
And then the Landmark Award winner for going in for their contributions to the sport, another France family member, this time Lisa France Kennedy, the main driving force behind the reworking of Phoenix Raceway and the Daytona Rising project that modernized that. She was going in at some point in time. Again, was she more qualified than anybody else on the Landmark ballot? You could argue that, but she was going in at some point in time. There was no doubt. So there you go. The NASCAR Hall of Fame and Steve O'Donnell have said they might actually work out a deal with the NASCAR Hall of Fame to have Kyle Busch go in with this group.
And I personally wouldn't be object to it.
No, I think it'd be a cool move. I think it'd be the right move.
Because you know he's going to go in first ballot.
Yeah. You know, and we've seen this before. We've seen Halls of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame suspended the rules on Roberto Clemente after he died in that plane crash in the early 1970s, put him in immediately. Hockey Hall of Fame after Wayne Gretzky retired, said, you know what? We're not going to wait 5 years. You're up next. Boom. Went right in. And deservedly so.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back into the show with Steve West and Matt Nicholson. Producer John Myers on CRN Live on YouTube. John Bird handling things very capably here at the flagship station, Talk 99.5. You can be a part of it too, 205-545-9950. You can call, you can text. I don't know. Has anybody texted there, Mr. Bird? Feel free to.
Not yet.
Okay. Couple of other notes here, and then we'll try and get into some other news of the day here. We talked about how Kyle Busch ran for some other teams. Spire, of course, got all their stuff, and the shop from Kyle Busch Motorsports, and they are recognizing the old KBM on the 7 truck this weekend, and they're keeping Kyle Busch's name on the truck, even though Corey Day is going to be behind the wheel. Richard Childress Racing, I'm sure, will have more than one honorarium of Kyle Busch on their cars. But he also drove for Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing, and both of them have taken steps to remember the fact that they had him in their ranks.
Yeah, it's now the more images are surfacing out through via social media that on the Gibbs Cup cars that I can see so far, as well as 2311 car, especially Bubba Wallace. The how it used to be on his old Nationwide car, the Rowdy was over the door. Rowdy's over the door on the Cup cars, as well as the 54 O'Reilly Auto Parts car.
Yeah.
But the 18 and the 20, and I haven't seen a picture of the 19, but I'm sure the 19 is as well. They got Kyle's actual lithograph signature over the door. On the 18, the 20, haven't seen the 19, but on the 54 Taylor Gray's car, they got Rowdy over the door.
Very cool.
Hendrick Motorsports, they don't have the 8 or the 18 number. They have the actual 51 decal on their cars, and salute to him.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, 2 people I don't envy this weekend is Corey Day and Austin Hill. But
no,
looking at this stuff right here of how something's just telling me. I've just got this feeling somewhere. Something's telling me Cinderella's getting ready to click her 3 heels, click her heels 3 times together, because Austin Hill in that car is back with Andy Street.
Mm-hmm.
To date, who has Austin Hill had his most success with in O'Reilly and Xfinity? Andy Street.
Yeah.
So I've just got something telling me Cinderella's getting ready to click her 3 heels 3 times.
You might be right.
But
Might very well be right.
it's one of those weekends where I would like to be at the racetrack, but I would not like to be at the racetrack.
Yeah. Coca-Cola 600 is one of those races that I would really love to go to and experience in person. And I haven't had the opportunity to yet. I say yet.
I've been to 3.
So I plan on doing that. But this weekend, this will be a tough weekend to do it.
Because out of the 3 600s that I've been to, the Memorial Day tributes of them playing taps and Amazing Grace on the bagpipes.
Yeah.
I'm going to say right now, Amazing Grace on the bagpipes is going to hit real different Sunday.
Yeah, very much so.
It's going to hit real different Sunday.
Yeah, I agree.
And then at the end of stage 2, which I hope I'm pretty sure they will, and I hope they still do it, pulling the cars down pit road and stopping them short of the start-finish line and doing the moment of silence and shutting all the cars off.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to hit different, too.
It will. All of that will.
That's going to hit a lot different.
All of that will, no doubt. By all means, feel free, call in, text in, whatever. We're going to get into a little bit of other news here because there is some other news from the week. In the fact that Catherine Legg is indeed in, as far as running the double is concerned. She was locked in when it was revealed only 39 cars were entered out of a possible 40. So she will run. She, bringing in a non-chartered car, will be joined by a fourth 2311 Racing, the 67 of Corey Heim, the number 66 Garage 66 ride to be driven by Timmy Hill. She is the first woman to attempt the double. And while the number 11 HMD AJ Foyt Racing ride I don't know about right now, I'm not sure about the quality of that ride, I guess is what I'm saying.
Let me see where she finished up yesterday.
And I hate to say this because I think BJ McLeod is a very well-respected man in and around the garages of NASCAR. But that Live Fast Motorsports number 78 Chevrolet is not a rocket by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
So with all due respect, all the drivers and all of the attempts that we've had at the double over the course of time, only one time, and it was Tony Stewart that did it, was able to run all 600 laps of the Indy 500 and Coca-Cola 600, 200 laps Indy 500, 400 laps the Coca-Cola 600, and finish all 1,100 miles.
Yesterday, she was 33rd.
Ow.
She was 33rd at a 2:29.357. She was 2/10 off of Mick Schumacher.
For getting out of 33rd.
33rd, yep.
So, I wish her the best. I really honestly do. But I don't think she's going to come close to that 1,100 miles finish.
Because I hope she's on track for all 400 miles. 400 miles. All 400 laps of the Cup race tomorrow.
Right. But how many laps will she be down?
There you go. There you go. Right there.
And again, I'm not blaming her.
No.
I think it's a lot to do with the car.
It's all car.
So we'll say that. Amazon Prime may only have 5 races, but man, they're pulling out all the stops. And if you got the chance to watch them last year, man, their coverage was fantastic. Sirius XM NASCAR radio midday host Daniel Trotta will host the pre-race and post-race shows alongside Corey LaJoy. The duo will be joined by a rotating roster of former Cup Series drivers. And over the course of the 5 races, you'll see one race Carl Edwards, another race Mark Martin, then Martin Truex Jr., then Brad Keselowski, who will also drive that day at Pocono, and then Jeff Gordon's going to be joining him for the San Diego Street Course race. So that's cool. And then Adam Alexander, once again, the main announcer for the races. The booth, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Steve Letarte. Kim Kuhn, Marty Snyder, and Trevor Bayne, former Cup driver, going to cover the action on pit road. I got to give them a lot of credit.
I could do
a
without,
great job.
I could do without Kim Kuhn. I got to add somebody else in.
She's getting better, though.
It's slowly improving.
Yeah, she's getting better. So I like their coverage, mainly because of the fact that they, Amazon Prime, are not limited by their programming coming up after the race. They can go as long as they want on a post-race, and that's cool.
Yep.
What else is going on? Sirius XM Satellite Radio and NASCAR have come to terms on a long-term contract extension, and they say they're going to try and maybe do more between the satellite radio channel and the streaming NASCAR channel that you can get on certain streaming services like Tubi. That ought to be interesting. Right now they have the Morning Drive, the morning show on the satellite radio channel hosted by Mike Bagley and Pete Pistone. That's simulcast on the NASCAR channel. Maybe they'll do more. And TNT has already said what they're going to do a little bit when they get their coverage of the Cup Series from Sonoma through the Brickyard 400. They're going to add veteran NASCAR reporter Marty Smith. I think I said Marty Reed earlier. Marty Smith is going to be part of the coverage. Smith, who joined ESPN in 2006 for NASCAR coverage and stayed with it after the network lost the rights to NASCAR, remained a reporter for shows like SportsCenter and the now-defunct NASCAR Now. He has signed a contract extension with ESPN, but he's going to assist TNT. He's going to be their studio host when coverage begins in California wine country. No word on who might join him in the studio for pre- and post-race coverage, but that's a nice move on their part because this guy has been entrenched in and around NASCAR really his whole broadcasting career.
It is.
So
and it will add to the TNT broadcast and then some.
Yeah, I agree. Indy 500 practice continued this week, even though qualifying was done last weekend. Problems obviously can crop up, and Alexander Rossi got into a problem. He got into a crash. His Ed Carpenter racing entry spun going into turn 2 during practice on Monday, slapped the outside wall, skidded down into the racing line. Pato O'Ward couldn't avoid him, kind of T-boned him. Trailing a Ward was Romain Grosjean. He got into the melee as well. All three drivers taken to the infield care center. Ward and Grosjean checked and released quickly. Rossi, however, got taken to a local hospital. He had immediate surgery to repair injuries to his left hand and his right ankle. No details on exactly what was needed to be done to either, but he was in a cast around his ankle earlier on this week. I think it was 2 days ago, Thursday, when they were doing
is. He still is.
Yeah. But I think it's a walking cast, so that's the good news.
It is.
Said he still hoped to participate in the final practice yesterday. I don't know whether he did.
He did.
He did participate, so that means
he did.
He will race tomorrow because that means he got cleared by the doctors.
Yeah, he was cleared, yes. He
Very good.
was actually he was actually second quick in practice yesterday.
Not bad with an injured ankle.
No. Sorry. I'm looking at the wrong one. Dadgummit.
That's the way it goes.
Carb day final practice. Here we go.
There you go.
He was. Well, Catherine Legg was still 33rd. Alexander Rossi was 31st.
Okay. Well, again, injured ankle, injured wrist. Got to get used to it. Got to get into the new normal, as they say.
Yep.
Fox Sports going all in for the Indy 500 coverage. We talked about Fox and Friends on the Fox News. They're out there right now doing their morning show out there. Broadcast booth of Will Buxton, flanked by IndyCar veterans Townsend Bell and James Hinchcliffe, is as normal. On pit road, the usual three, now going to turn into four. Georgia Henneberry, Kevin Lee, and Jack Harvey will be on pit road as normal. Jamie Little moves over from NASCAR coverage to be the fourth pit reporter. Truth be told, one of her better moves. That's where she's best, right there.
Yeah, she's at her best in IndyCar.
Yeah, and on pit road, she does a great job of being able to get the information that she needs from the crew chiefs and everybody.
Yep.
Fox Sports also going to have First Things First on site this week. That's a long-running, all sports show. Pre-race coverage from Fox Sports announcer Chris Myers is going to anchor that. We've seen him obviously doing a whole lot of NASCAR stuff. He's going to have racer Danica Patrick along with him, and as it turns out, her old boss Tony Stewart's going to be on hand for pre-race show commentary.
Since we're on Indianapolis, there's one thing I'm after seeing it yesterday. This has got to go. Can we, for the love of humanity, get rid of this weenie 500 garbage?
Yeah. I'll say this. It is a great promotional item for the Oscar Mayer Wiener and the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile.
It is. But the monologues, the verbiage that they're using throughout the broadcast.
It is hokey.
But when you have Andy Richter.
Oh, see, I didn't hear this.
Andy Richter got interviewed.
Okay.
This is a Rated G show. It's going to stay a Rated G show. But some of the things Andy Richter, a couple of things he said,
not exactly
were very
G-rated.
eyebrow raising.
Yeah.
One, two. I forgot who it was. I can't remember if it was Will Buxton or somebody else. Related to Oscar Mayer branding, ask Danica Patrick how many weenies she's had at Indianapolis. True story.
Just leave that right there.
And her immediate response, "Are you trying to get me canceled?"
Yeah, really.
This has got to go.
It does.
It's terrible.
So anyway, Myers, Patrick, Stewart going to be on hand for pre-race. Special features done by Tom Rinaldi. NFL on Fox commentator and four-time Super Bowl winning champion Rob Gronkowski is going to be the grand marshal of something called the infield snake pit. He did this last year. He'll do it again this year. That seems about appropriate for Gronk.
Oh, boy. For Gronk, yeah.
Yeah. So they're breaking out everything.
So they had to do something considering Jason Kelsey was at the infield of Talladega. So they had to do something.
I guess. All right, Mr. Bird, let's take our final break here. When we come back, I'm kind of curious as to what the heck's going on over at the IHRA. Because, honestly, I can say this right now. I think that Darryl Cuddle's doing a lot of things right. I do. But man, some of the other moves are just eyebrow raising in some of the worst ways. Explain that when we come back. Final segment of CRN for this Memorial Day weekend comes up right after this break.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
As you know, when it rains, it pours, and it can pour at any moment. At Be Dry Alabama, their specialty is keeping your property dry. Many areas of your lawn can stay wet for weeks after a rain. Poor drainage can cause many problems for your home and landscaping, not to mention your foundation. We're talking to David Fevet and Be Dry Alabama. We can go through a drought, but one thing we know,
the rain will be here. And when we do, you remember the one name in business that has been around since 1958 with a lifetime warranty is Be Dry. Be Dry is there to fix that problem and fix it for good.
in addition to the lifetime warranty for the structure of your home, Be Dry is offering a spring special of 25% off an encapsulation of your crawl space to help eliminate musty odors in your home. Contact the pros at Be Dry Alabama with the lifetime warranty, plus 25% off encapsulation for a limited time only. Don't forget Be Dry Foundation and Waterproofing. Visit them at BeDryAlabama.com. Once again, that's BeDryAlabama.com.
Two tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in. Final segment of this weekend's Memorial Day weekend edition of CRN. Memorial Day on two different counts. Obviously, the weekend in and of itself, the holiday weekend that is Memorial Day weekend, and the fact that we're remembering the life of Kyle Busch, who passed away unexpectedly on Thursday at the age of 41. A lot of great memories over the course of time and people checking in and all that. There was kind of a misunderstanding on CRN Live on YouTube about retiring or parking. No, you can't retire the number. But Richard Childress Racing has the rights to the number. He can park it just like he did the number 3, and he is going to indeed do that. Like you said it, basically, it's called putting it up on a shelf.
Yeah, you're doing that, but setting it on a shelf and covering it up.
Yeah, and whenever Brexton Busch is ready and able to get up into the Cup Series, Richard Childress will break it out and let him be able to use that, whether it's for him, which I would imagine it probably will be, if I were thinking so.
At the pace that kid's on, I firmly believe that he will be making an ARCA Menard Series start in 4 years, when he turns 15.
You know, and again, I think every effort will be made to put him in a Richard Childress Racing car.
I'm sure.
But we're also talking some other things here. And the IHRA, which they are supposed to be running this weekend, but rain has got them
it was
sidelined.
It postponed, yep. They actually postponed it early in the week because of the weather forecast of how it was for Pennsylvania.
So hopefully things will get on. But I kind of wonder, because I like a lot of the things that Darrell Cuddle's done since he's gotten a hold of the IHRA. He's going out there and he's grabbing the attention of drivers also from the NHRA. He's putting out bigger and bigger purses. He's going out and getting tracks, and he is refurbishing those tracks. But he also continues to meddle with, and I say this carefully, but I honestly think he's meddling a little too much in his own management staff. He announced recently Liam Martin was let go back in March. It took him a couple of months to figure out his new president, and that's Dustin Farthing. Dustin came up through the ranks as a pro watercraft racer. Meantime, the CEO of the drag racing operation, Scott Woodruff, has also been relieved of his duties. In his place, Doug Foley Jr., former racer himself, has been promoted from within to take over that. According to reports, several others in the management staff of the IHRA in different divisions have decided to move on from the IHRA. Been reported that basically as soon as the ink was dry on the IHRA's purchase of National Trail Dragway, that was the one in Ohio, right?
National Trail is Hebron, Ohio, yes.
Yeah. Apparently, the entire management and staff quit.
I think partly because of all that was thrown on them so quick after pulling the plug on Montgomery.
Yeah.
Which it ended up being a smart move, pulling the plug on Montgomery, because the weather was so bad a couple weeks ago down there.
That's true.
But the series overall, from a performance standpoint, is going in a good direction.
Yeah.
But from a managerial and an operations standpoint, there's a little tad too much instability right now.
Well, and let's get back to that, because Farthing is in. We'll see whether this happens. Liam Martin's tenure as the IHR president was very short. She only got hired in the job in December of last year. So she made it from December to March. She released a statement afterward, very professional, said, quote, "As difficult as today has been, I remain incredibly proud of everything we worked to build. I poured my heart, time, energy, and countless hours into the sport and the organization because I truly believe the vision and the future of racing. Like many in this industry, these commitments often came at the expense of personal and family time, but I believe the mission was worth it." So, I've seen personality issues get in the way. I've dealt with them myself in the various jobs in the radio business that I've had.
I've dealt with them as well.
And that's what makes me wonder, was there a personality conflict between Liam Martin and Darrell Cuddle?
I would very likely say yes, it probably was.
It seems that way anyway.
Yep.
Let's see. NASCAR changed the rules regarding damaged cars and what can be done to get them back out on the track for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and the Craftsman Truck Series. Effectively, what they've done is they have made all of the rules from the Cup Series through O'Reilly and trucks all the same. I could go into details, but I'm not going to waste time on that.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Got a new name coming into the Craftsman Truck Series. His name is Casey Klein. Set to join Rackley War for 4, maybe 5 races through the end of the season. Klein's going to race at North Wilkesboro Speedway July 18th, then get back in the number 27 truck at Richmond and Martinsville. And after that, could be either Charlotte or Bristol, but the team admits, depending on his performance, it could be both and maybe more. Casey Klein, what do you know about this kid?
0.
How in the heck did he get a truck series right?
Probably a checkbook, if you ask me.
Maybe. We'll see. Formula One continuing to play with the rules when it comes to power units. It seems now that the 5 makers of the said power units, specifically Audi, Ferrari, Ford, Honda, and Mercedes, still waiting on Cadillac to make it 6, there's a change that probably going to affect the internal combustion engine component, and it could help. There's a program called the Additional Development and Upgrade Opportunity. This was instituted along with the new engine regulations for this year, can allow upgrades to multiple components. So who gets the chance to upgrade? Well, they're going to go through this weird little formula where they're going to test all the engines on a range of factors: torque at the input shaft, engine speed, weight, and then all 5 makes of the engines get ranked. And if one is determined to be between 2 and 4% off of the best performing engine, that manufacturer gets an additional upgrade opportunity for this season and an extra one for next. But what can be upgraded? Well, it is kind of limited, according to the FIA statement, to the engine exhaust system, turbo and waste gate pop-off, ICE or exhaust-mounted electrical components and sensors, cooling systems like ERS and associated cooling systems, and more. They're getting real technical here, but they're really doing their level best, at least on the surface, to try and get these engines as equal as possible. But, man, they've got a fairly odd formula to go through it.
Yeah, it's very odd formula. But, see, what a lot of people don't realize is if it's between 2 and 4%, 2 and 4% is a lot.
At the horsepower and torque numbers that these guys are putting out, yes.
2 and 4% a ton. Because I know that there is just giving an example, Hendrick Motorsports has a rule from his engine shop. If an engine comes off the build rack, goes to the dyno, and is within 5 horsepower off of any one given engine, that motor gets rebuilt. All the engines leave the shop equal.
Mm-hmm.
The car is on you.
Yeah.
The engine's not going to be on that.
Okay.
So, I mean.
We'll see where it goes. Max Verstappen, how did he do in the 24 hours of Nürburgring? Well, his car didn't finish. His car did. He and his fellow drivers made it 21 of the 24 hours. But with 3 hours or so left, the car had a drive shaft issue and had to retire from the race. I think it was a fast car. Number 3 Mercedes-AMG GT3, sponsored by Red Bull, was actually leading the event when the issue popped up. His teammate, Danny Juncadella, was going to try to bring the car into the pits. Reported the car started showing an ABS issue when he radioed in, said he was having a hard time controlling the racer. It led everybody to believe the issue was more serious, so they called him in for an unscheduled pit stop. When they looked to see what the problem was, the drive shaft issue had caused major damage to the rear axle, which was what was causing control problems for the driver.
Yep.
So they had to retire it. But it was a fast car. It would have been interesting to see if they could have pulled off the win.
It would have been.
And Cadillac, they're finally ran their first home race at Miami. He didn't do too well. Going to run the race now in Canada this weekend, but apparently they have been listening to at least some of what Matt and I have been talking about when it came to determining what the two racers were going to need during that two-race unexpected vacation when the two races in the Middle East were canceled. We said basically they needed to park themselves in Charlotte and just go through every possible thing that they could possibly do at that test center that's behind the Hendrick complex of dealerships along Bruton Smith Boulevard, not that far away from Hendrick Motorsports and their main campus.
Mm-hmm.
For Miami, they brought a new front wing, floor diffuser, and rear suspension, among other parts, but they didn't stop there. For this weekend's race in Canada, they got another rash of updates, new front brake drums, diffuser trim, and winglets, along with new front torsion bars. Now, I get it. We're getting kind of technical here, but looking at what they're doing here, what do you think they're trying to fix or improve might be the better way to put it?
Mechanical grip and suspension.
Okay.
The torsion bars, that's what tells me that. Diffuser trim and winglets are aero.
Mm-hmm.
Front brake drums, I'm really not sure what that would be accomplishing.
I'm wondering if that has more to do with aerodynamics than anything else.
Really not sure. But the torsion bars, that's definitely suspension and mechanical grip.
Okay. And they did state on that last one there, the final one over the new front torsion bars, should help their car ride over the curbing at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, which is a little bit steeper than what's at most tracks.
It is. Yeah.
So they're hoping that that's going to help. We'll see whether or not it does any good for them. Sprint race is supposed to happen today, right?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know how they qualified. I saw where the Haas F1 guys, I think, qualified 13th and 19th if you're rooting for the American guys. So we'll see where the Cadillac guys went.
Prior sprint qualifying results.
Okay.
Mercedes 1-2, McLaren 3-4, Ferrari 5-6, Red Bull 7-8.
That sounds about normal.
Racing Bulls, Lindblad in 9th and Sainz in 10th. The Haas's were 14th and 15th.
Okay.
Cadillac was 17 and 20.
Okay, so they're not last, which is what they were the first sprint.
No.
Step by step. Step by step. We'll see how it goes. Cadillac's put a lot of money into this. We'll see where it goes. Thank you very much for joining us. I did get late word, by the way. Being Memorial Day weekend, one of our great partners, Cat and Bird Winery, specifically today, will have a military discount, 10%. So if you go up there and you are former military or current military and you can prove that, let's put it that way, they'll give you 10% off. Tell them you heard about it right here on CRN. We appreciate that.
Yep.
And truth be told, even if you're not military, if you say you heard about them on CRN, they'll give you a 10% discount. I don't think they stack. Just hate to tell you that, but I get the feeling not. But we thank you very much for checking out this weekend show. We do it every single Saturday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Hopefully you'll join us again next week. And don't forget, we got the podcast Cross Flags. We should do that Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. It'll be up on all the regular places, CRN Live on YouTube, Real Talk 99.5 TV on YouTube. It's actually also on Jocks 94.5 TV on YouTube. And there's an audio version on Spotify. Have a fantastic and please take the time to remember the veterans who lost their lives on this Memorial Day weekend. And we'll talk to you next weekend right here on the Championship Racing Network.